Hey, it's Tandy with the Common Ground Alaska podcast. I'm so glad you've joined us. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Kristen Acosta. The reason that Kristen is here is because Kristen has started a Weston A Price Foundation chapter in the Matsu Valley. And boy, is it ever needed. Kristen, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. It's really exciting.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so what in the world is Weston A Price and why do we need it here?
Weston A Price, it's a super awesome foundation named after Weston A Price, obviously, but he was a dentist in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and he started noticing lots of issues with people when they were coming into the dentist, lots more cavities, more crowded teeth, a lot more just in general health issues. And he was very curious as to why this was happening. Like, this is really weird. And he was seeing it so much more often in small children. So he decided to travel all over the globe and research why this was happening. He started to study traditional ways of living. So lots of places that hadn't been industrialized. Like, he actually came to Alaska and met with a lot of the villages and stuff like that that hadn't been introduced to a lot of the different things that the Western civilization had been getting into, and went to places in Ireland and all kinds of stuff that just hadn't been touched by modern food. And he was starting to see that they had straight teeth. They didn't have any overcrowding. They didn't really have a lot of health issues, all these heart diseases and all kinds of crazy stuff that we deal with now. And was starting to realize, like, why is this happening? Wondering why is it that they're so much healthier than all these people, that we have all these scientific new things and we have all these modern stuff. Why are they so much healthier than the people that have all the modern whatever? And he started looking more into it, and a big part of it was their food and how they were doing everything very traditionally. And a lot of it was, no matter which place in the world he went to, they all have very different diets. You look at someone here in Alaska, they had a lot of whale blubber and different foods than someone in Texas or whatever, different parts of the world. But the biggest thing was that they were high in animal fats and just different, high in protein. They didn't have commercialized grains. They didn't have all these different things. They were doing everything very traditionally. No matter what civilization he was looking at or different parts of the world, they all had things that were high in animal fats, high in different vitamins. Nutrient density was a big part of it. Everything was high in vitamins and minerals and things like that, which a lot of our food now doesn't have that. Even if you're eating animal fats, you might, if you're not eating grass fed or different things where they're getting pumped with grains and all kinds of really gross stuff, you're losing all that nutrient density that your body needs to help process that.
Yeah, totally.
So,
So basically, he was a dentist and
yeah.
he noticed in the world of dentistry, things were
Mm-hmm.
getting progressively worse, bigger issues. And the thing that seems crazy to me, and I realize that they're related because there's been enough studies that I understand that they're related, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. What in the world does sugar consumption and processed food consumption have to do with overcrowded teeth? I don't
Yeah.
know. Other
Mm-hmm.
than here's the solution that I came up with in my own simplified Tandy version of it is anytime things are going wrong inside, there's some sort of an
Yeah.
no more. There's your body is saying, listen, I'm not happy. For instance, my face is still very red because I've got some autoimmune stuff going on. I did ask my doctor about it, and then she sent me to a dermatologist because I had some actually skin cancer going on at the same time. And the dermatologist was trying to convince me to put all these chemicals on my face, and he was
Mm-hmm.
prescribing all these chemicals. And I was like, wait, first of all, I don't want to cover up the red.
There's a reason that it's happening. I don't need that band-aid.
This is what Weston A. Price found as he was going, he went to some more traditional like villages and things. And he
Yeah.
found when he got there, it was like, but wait, they don't have the tooth crowding issues. They don't have how strange that these people who don't have the technology that the Western world has are actually healthier. They had fewer health issues. They
Right.
had fewer teeth issues, which is was his
That
glaring.
initial, there's so much research to show if you're having a cavity or different things like that, that can be connected to heart disease, cancer, all kinds of different things. It's really crazy. You never really realize the connection that it is to everything. If you have any problems with this tooth, it can mean that your liver is not functioning correctly or whatever. Everybody knows your body's connected, but we don't really realize how connected it is. We separate everything and think my foot hurts or whatever. So it just means that's that one area versus it's all connected. It might actually be not the main thing that's causing the problem.
A symptom of something underlying. Okay, so fill us in real quick on the history of how we got from him doing all of the touring to now where we are now, and what's the purpose of the Weston A Price Foundation.
So Sally Fallon is one of the co-founders, and she was very fascinated by a lot of the things that Weston A Price was finding. The biggest point of the Weston A Price Foundation is education and helping people find information about your food, being able to find information that's scientifically backed, that is not an ulterior motive. I feel like now with a lot of the food pyramid, I think a lot of people may or may not know, but a scam. That's the only way I can think to say it. But it's paid for by the people that want that food to make them money. Like recently, they were saying that Fruit Loops is more healthy for you than steak and eggs. It's just crazy to think about. You look at all of these scientific studies that they say all these different things are so healthy for you or not healthy for you, when they're saying margarine's better for you than butter. And you start looking more into it and realize that all of these scientists, all the studies are being paid for by Coca-Cola, by Kellogg's, by whoever. And it's maybe not as honest as they want you to believe. The Weston A Price Foundation wants to be able to give people information and actually show scientific facts. I really appreciate that they show everything. Like they don't just blatantly say something and then not have something to back it up. So that's the biggest part of it, is education. They want to help protect farmers and help protect our food in general, our food security, as well as just not encouraging and helping these big ag, big pharma, big farms where they're doing really unhealthy practices and our food is not really good for us at all. And so they're really trying to help lobby with in Congress and all kinds of different things to help protect our foods, our food freedom, knowing where our food comes from, being able to know your farmer, being able to know all these different things. And so that's another big aspect of it.
So they're based traditional food, and even someone would go back as far as saying ancestral food. So tell me why you wanted to start a chapter in the Valley.
There's a lot of layers to it, because I guess I didn't really know about Weston A Price several years ago, but I had started doing a health journey situation and learning. And I always felt like I was a semi-healthy person and semi-healthy eating. My mom grew me up. We didn't drink a lot of sodas and different things like that, whatever. But it was a very special occasion if you got a soda, which in the 90s, I felt like you were very weird if you didn't have
I love it.
Soda and your red candy and all kinds of stuff. My mom was very more natural in that aspect and tried as hard as she could. So I always felt like that. And then I started having lots of health autoimmune problems. My husband, who's a year older than me, I'm 32. Yeah, 32. But he started having gout. And I was like, that's an old person's disease, or at least as far as I knew. I was like, this is an old person's disease. Why are you 30? At the time, it was 26. Why are you 26 and getting gout on a regular basis? Different things like that. But I started doing more research in it, started realizing everything they're telling him not to eat is things that are actually really good for you. And it just didn't make any sense. They're like, just take this medication, just do this, different things like that. I started learning more about like raw milk. So if you're trying to find raw milk in your area, they have the Real Milk website that can help you find farmers potentially in your area and different things like that. So that was like a ball rolling thing. And then I started learning more and more about them. I was listening to a bunch of podcasts that different people that were involved with the Weston A Price Foundation were being interviewed, and it was just really fascinating to me. And earlier in this year, I had messaged because I saw that there was somebody in Anchorage that was a chapter leader, and I was like, oh, maybe they can help me find some local meat. I emailed him, and he got back to me a couple weeks later and was saying that he actually he was just an interim chapter leader, and that he would try to help me find some stuff, but that he was probably going to get rid of it because he wasn't the main person, and the main chapter leader had moved out of state a long time ago. And so the only other places are out near Juneau and Kodiak that are the only other chapters in Alaska. And so I figured, I was like, I'm going to look more into this and see what I can figure out. And as I was looking more into what is needed to be a chapter leader, the biggest, most important thing is having your food resource list. And I felt like I had such a hard time finding raw milk, finding local farms and stuff like that when I started getting more into this health journey up here in Alaska, that I was like, you know what? I want to do this research. I enjoy doing it. I have the time. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I might as well just put my feet to the ground and start doing it. And I'm requested to be a chapter leader, and that's how it went. But my biggest thing was I just wanted to be able to make it easier for other people to be able to find local food that's good for you, that and being able to make our food system stronger in Alaska, because it's COVID, I feel, was a big wake up call, especially for me, to be eating more locally and not just focusing on the grocery store and hoping for the best, that hoping it'll be in stock. I think that was a huge thing when we started having all the supply chain issues.
We've lived here for 22 years, and it doesn't take much to disrupt the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something we need to remember is it's interesting when like a barge gets waylaid. I know what, a month and a half ago or so, there was a barge that broke down. That I think
Right.
there was a fire on the barge or something. I can't even
Yeah.
remember. So that specific barge was out for 2 weeks while they were fixing it. And there were some empty shelves. We need to be responsible for our family. And I think statistics like, and I know we say this all the time, but it needs to sink in. The fact that Alaska, the stores in Alaska have enough food to feed every Alaskan for 3 days. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when a barge is out, one barge is out for 2 weeks. What about we had 9/11 that shut down air travel. We have volcanoes that go off. We have
Right.
earthquakes that hurt our infrastructure. It doesn't have to be a massive worldwide disaster.
Right.
It could be
100%.
something small that disrupts that food chain, so that
Mm-hmm.
there is a place that when the food chain is disrupted, where can they go to get potatoes? Maybe you're going to have to live on potatoes for a minute, which isn't anybody's
Right.
thing, like potatoes, but
Yeah, but yeah, it
but
definitely isn't the most uh healthy. Only if that's your only source, it is what it is, but it's definitely
no, but
not going
I
to give
think
you everything you need.
an Alaska grown potato with some real butter on it's going to be a whole lot better for you than a handful of
Lay's potato
fruit
chips or
loops.
whatever.
So what are your goals for the Valley chapter, and what do you have so far?
So I started a website, so you can actually find it. There's a couple different ways you can find it. One of the easiest ways probably is going to westonaprice.org, and you can look at local chapters, and then it will make you go by state, whatever, and you can find our website. And I have put together local farms that you can reach out to for milk, for vegetables, health stores that may have more homeopathy type remedies, different things like that, supplements, whatever. But that's my number one, has been my biggest goal, is just being able to help people find local food that is nutrient dense and it's just supporting your community and your economy, as well as, I think the more we do that, the bigger that will, more supply demand type thing, where more people will want to start having chickens and sell eggs or whatever. But that's like my number one goal for our chapter, is just making our resource list very long list, like making it to where, oh gosh, this farmer's doesn't have enough chicken eggs, whatever. Let me see if I can find somebody else that can maybe give me eggs or give me milk or whatever that might be. And then down the line, I would love to be able to start having chapter meetings, start having gatherings. I think I've seen a lot where other chapters will do like potlucks, and that might even include having other local farms bringing different dishes or different things from their farm, so people can go, oh, I've tried their carrots, I love their carrots, they're so good, or whatever that might be. I'm not fully formed exactly what I want it to be in the long run, because there's so many different options, but I would definitely like to be able to get our community more connected, because that's one thing I think that Alaskans really lack, is connecting with other people. I know a lot of us like to keep to ourselves and don't bother me, I won't bother you kind of thing. And I think that makes it really hard for people to be able to find your milk. You have to know word of mouth. And I think in a lot of ways, technology wise, in some ways, Alaska's very behind. Most people don't have websites. Most people don't have Facebook pages for their farms, or even not even their farms, just businesses in general. But it makes it to where you really have to know somebody to know who to find those different things. And I grew up in Texas and I moved up here in 2016. So that was really rough for me in general, trying to find out. You really have to finagle and find people that will know somebody to know somebody. You gotta whatever. And I don't want that to be the case for other people when they move here, or military families. There's a lot of people that move in and out of Alaska a lot. And I don't want it to be so hard to find it. It makes me sad talking to a lot of girlfriends and friends around that don't know where to start. I don't know anybody that knows a farmer. Not everybody's a gardener. I try, but I have a pretty brown thumb and I fail.
Alaskans are fiercely independent, and that is one of our greatest strengths. But if we're not careful, it's also going to be one of our biggest weaknesses. And
Right.
so I think that this database that you're creating, that I know is just going to continue to expand and grow, and is really valuable, because you can find the other different farms and things that grow local food. The other thing I think that's important is it's not always just local food. It's not just the fresh produce, although that's super important, not just produce, but the fresh food, but also people are doing stuff with local food too.
I do think that's one thing that it is makes it even harder for the individual. We have such a short growing season as far as vegetables and things like that go. Very short in
Yes.
comparison to a lot of other people.
So tell me, if someone's curious about all of this, like, how can they get in touch with you? What are they going to get if they go on your website besides your resource page, stuff like that?
Because I guess my chapter page is still connected to the Weston A Price, and our chapters page is mostly just the resource stuff. I do have a little bit of information about. We have a Facebook group that I started so that other people can get connected, because I would really love to be able to see other like-minded people that want to learn about their food, try to take charge of their health and heal our bodies with our food versus trying to, I don't know, do whatever we've been doing the last 50, 60 years or whatever. Um, but yeah, so that's my biggest thing, is trying to get everybody connected. So I've got the face, have a lot of different bullet point things. Like if you want to learn about, there's 11 principles to the dietary principles for Weston A Price of what we like. They've got a bunch of different on the actual website. There's a lot of research, different things. If you have questions about sugar, like what's the deal with sugar, soy, there's all different things that they go in deep dive topics, and you can learn a lot of information on why certain things you should avoid versus others. And yeah, I've lost my track of thought there.
No,
But
that's perfect.
the yeah, it's a never ending tunnel of information.
The Weston A Price website is just a gold mine of information,
Mm-hmm.
really. And what I like is, and I don't, some websites just have the ability to do this. If someone is listening and they're like, okay, but I don't even know where to start. If you just go to the Weston A Price Foundation website, and you can Google raw milk, you can Google how do I eat healthy, Google their 11 principles. It's really, or not Google, but in their search bar.
Yeah.
It's really, they've simplified healthy eating,
Mm-hmm.
and they even make it so it doesn't seem weird. So
Yeah.
I feel like some ultra healthy sites, they'll
Make
have,
it overly complicated for
yes, or they
sure.
have ingredients that are strange. I will say they do promote the eating of organ meat, which
Mm-hmm.
we all know it's important, but if you weren't raised on organ meat, and
Yeah,
then
it's
for us, when we butcher our animals, and I'm like, you look at that liver and you're like, I just don't know.
right. Yeah,
Not
no.
so sure. So I actually have a recommendation for that. If you're brand new, I'm just going to throw this tip out there. If you're brand new to eating organ meat, but you want to, I should have brought so you could see it. There's a company that's called Pluck, and they're
Yep.
endorsed by Weston A Price
I
Foundation.
love them.
And
They're so
yeah,
good.
they're great. They do seasonings, and their seasonings have tried organ meat in them.
Hmm.
But they're so good, you would never know. Here's the
Yeah.
secret. I've been using it for my family for 2 weeks. No one said a word. They have no idea they're eating organ meat. No clue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now they will because they're hearing
Yeah.
this recording. But
Yeah.
until then, they had
Yeah.
no clue.
Yeah. That's another thing. So we actually eat organ meat fairly regularly. And I actually started eating it more, even though it's frowned upon for gout, people with gout. But my
Yeah.
husband eats it all the time, and he hasn't had a gout flare up in 3 years since I
Thank you.
started really pounding in all that stuff. But the Weston A Price, I think there's a lot of stuff on the website, and then Holistic Hilda on the Wise Traditions podcast, which is, I guess, sponsored by the Weston A Price Foundation, talk a lot about how organ meats are nature's vitamin, multivitamin. If you have even just a small portion of organ meats on a regular basis, it's much more powerful than you're doing a daily one a day whatever multivitamin and things like that. And it's so good, but it is daunting. Ancestral Supplements has a bunch of different liver and organ meat in general, because the whole thing is not just liver, not just whatever, it's nose to tail,
Yep.
eating the whole animal.
I want to reiterate what you said. I'm probably subscribed to 200 podcasts, but I have like my four core ones that I listen
Yeah.
to. And Wise Traditions with Holistic Hilda she is at the top. So when hers comes up, that's one that I definitely I listen to it every week, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
She talks about everything. She talks about, you and I were just talking, she interviewed someone about chemtrails, so you can hear about that. She talked about LED light bulbs and why they're actually not as beneficial as we think they are, and the almost dangers that they can be for some people. And they talk about the whole gamut of things, but the bottom line is it's all about health and creating healthy people. And it's almost normalized to be sick in our day and age right now. It's, what do you have? And what do you have? And I have Hashimoto's. Oh, the whole room has Hashimoto's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why does the whole room have Hashimoto's? And they're really into figuring out how to live in this day and age and eat a healthy diet. And it's not about spending a ton of money. They're keeping it affordable. They're eating local. But it's really about that core value of getting good food into people. Yeah, the Wise Traditions podcast is definitely a favorite. I'm really excited to see where this goes, Kristen, because we need more of this. We need more education. We need more local food availability. And so not only are you encouraging people to find local food, I just want you to know that you're also encouraging those of us who are behind the scenes that are producing the food. You're encouraging us that we're doing something good, even though sometimes it is so incredibly hard building that community and uniting the people between the consumer and the producer. That's huge. And so what you're doing is really important, and I'm glad that you're out there.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of that is just educating what is good, what's not, because that's so dang confusing too. And so I do really appreciate it, and I'm excited to see where this chapter goes. That's going to be fun.
I'm very excited. I'm hoping soon I can get, I don't know, more community and getting us together. I would love to be able to do farm tours and different things like that where people can see how things work. I think a lot of the downsides of grocery stores, one of the biggest things is that we're not connected and we don't understand how much work it goes into growing a carrot, how much work it goes into milking a cow or whatever that might be. And so I think that sometimes is really hard for people to be like, but if I go buy a grocery store, this from the grocery store, it's only $2. But if I buy it from the farmer, it's $4 or $5. But they don't realize those people that are selling at the grocery store have government funding because they do XYZ, that are cutting corners that might not be very good for your health. And I think I would rather, personally, I'd rather spend the $4, know where my food has come from, than spend the $2. And on top of that, know that I probably will be fuller, healthier, and happier after eating something that I know where it's come from. So I would love to be able to see that be more of a thing that everybody can do, as well as if anybody knows a farmer or knows somebody that's a food producer that wants to be involved or on our list or something, I would love to be, reach out to me and do that. It would be amazing, because I have my list of things that I've found, but I know that there's so much more out there, and I'm sure that there's a lot that I don't know as far as farmers and producers. I've got like some sourdough people on our list, people that have birch syrup, our different coffee roasters and things like that, that are just other ways for us to, I don't know, support our community.
I read a book where they did a study on carrots. When you look online and you look at the nutritional quality of a carrot, you assume that it's going to, whatever it says is going to be, every carrot across the board is going to have these nutrients and it's going to have these vitamins,
Right.
minerals. It's all going to be the same. So what they did was they grew 2 different plots of carrots. In one plot of carrot, they just grew it in soil with commercial fertilizer. That's it. So the soil hadn't been enhanced in any way except with the commercial fertilizer. In the other one, they grew it in what you and I would call like a living soil, like it's a healthy soil. And it had been, there may have been some commercial fertilizer in there. There's probably some manure in there. There's probably all sorts of things in there. But this was a healthy living soil that the carrots were grown in. The majority of our mass produced, even organic foods, vegetables especially, but food are grown in the soil that was in that original plot. So it just had some chemical fertilizer in it and that's it. So then they took the carrot apart and they analyzed it. I have no idea how you analyze what's in a carrot, but they took the nutrients of the carrot, and the carrot that had been grown in the soil that had only ever had commercial fertilizer was basically dead soil that they just added. It's like when they add vitamin D or whatever vitamin they add in milk, there's no point to it. But they'd added that in there. Those carrots had almost none of the nutrients that they were supposed to have, almost none. And they had especially the minerals were a big one. The mineral count in them was extremely depleted. Now, amazingly enough, sometimes it seems like the whole world is behind. But now they're saying part of all of our health issues is that we're so mineral depleted. No kidding, because we're eating that carrot thinking that it's got all this nutrient in it, and it does not. And but the carrot that was grown, they were literally grown in the same field. I don't know how far apart they were or anything else, but the other carrot was grown in good soil, and it met or exceeded the nutritional qualities that a carrot is supposed to have as far as vitamins and nutrients, minerals, all of that. So it's incredible to think that not only, especially if you're eating a commercially grown carrot, not only is it not going to meet and I'm not picking on commercial growers. I think it's all important and we got to feed our people. But if wanting to feed your family nutrient dense, it's not just a matter of going to the grocery store and buying a carrot. If you go, the difference, like you said, the difference between your $2 thing at the grocery store and your $4 one at the farm could be the difference in massive nutrient density. You're not buying something that's building your family nutritionally when you're buying food that doesn't have the nutrient components in it.
And I think another big part of that too, when you are lacking that nutrient density, because your body knows, what you need. And people, I think, sometimes don't give their bodies enough credit or don't listen to their bodies enough. But I think when you're lacking that nutrient density, you do eat more. You're needing more because your body's, give me more of this because I need that vitamin. I need that mineral. I'm waiting for that to come into me to get there.
To be satiated.
It's waiting. I'm waiting for that different mineral or whatever that's missing, and it's never coming, and you just keep eating. Versus you eat something very high nutrient dense. It's shocking as once we started buying nicer and higher quality meats and vegetables and stuff like that, how much less my husband and I would have to eat to be feeling full and feeling that, okay, I feel satisfied. It's shocking because we've been just trained like, let's eat our 30 something ounce steak or whatever, versus if you eat a much smaller steak, 6, 8, 10, whatever ounces. And it's crazy to once you start dabbling in that and start actually eating that way, you'll start to notice so many different things.
I want to just give one more example because I want to reiterate what you're saying. We grow all of our own chicken. We're slowly growing all of our own meat, but we've definitely dialed in the chicken thing. We used to grow Cornish cross, and not only are they gross, they're just not a healthy bird.
Right.
So when we made the switch between the Cornish cross and the Freedom Rangers, we didn't change anything else really. We might have had a few small changes, but no big, massive changes in how we fed them or how we went about it or anything. The Cornish cross were raised in chicken tractors. We ended up doing a movable fence for the Freedom Rangers, but it's exactly the same thing. They were still getting fresh grass in a beautiful field every day. The Freedom Rangers are so much more active, and they tear things up. Actually, we got to keep them moved a little better. They'll dig all the way to the dirt, digging for bugs and doing what the chickenness of a
Yeah,
chicken,
what they're
like Bill
supposed to
Peloton
do.
would say.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But the other thing is, we've always fermented their feed. None of that has changed. But the crazy thing to me is when we eat the Freedom Ranger meat, my husband was the first one to point this out. Normally, with a chicken, you can eat like a hind quarter. He and I might have a whole, because we're big meat eaters, and there's the other stuff
Yeah.
is there's a little bit on the plate, but we're big on protein. You get a hind quarter, so you get a leg and a thigh, and you could eat that and eat the whatever your vegetable is, and it's fine. Neither one of us could eat a leg and a thigh. It was a leg or a thigh. It fills us up faster and it keeps us full longer. And I have no doubt that is nutrient density in that bird. And what surprises me is it's still a chicken, but
Yeah.
so if you're paying again $6 a pound for this chicken or $3 a pound for the other, if you're eating half as much, then you can make that chicken go that much further. And I know that sounds like crazy math, but the reality of it is we make chicken last a long time around here.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can turn it into a lot of meals, and it's because it's so much more nutrient dense.
Yeah, I've experienced that, and I totally agree. And I think the biggest thing that I've noticed when talking to friends and family and things like that about eating the way that we do is that it's so expensive to eat healthy. That's a big gripe. And I feel like in some ways it's very daunting. And then sometimes in reality, like my initial grocery bill, or my food bill, I should say, because majority of my groceries I don't really buy at the conventional grocery store anymore, but it goes a lot further. That initial cost might be a little bit more, but I'm not eating it as fast. And on top of that too, I feel like that argument maybe could have been made 5-10 years ago, but you go look now, and Doritos are $9 or whatever, $8 a bag or something crazy. That's not really going to fill me. And it's going to probably make you feel awful. Continuous chronic, I don't know, inflammation, angriness, whatever. It's got so many problems that you don't realize it until you completely cut that stuff out for a little while and try to reintroduce it. You realize just like it makes you feel bad. It doesn't fill you up. Once you start learning at what they put in your food, that's not really food.
Kristen, this has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Let's do this again.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk sometime about different meal suggestions and snack suggestions for families. I think that kind of thing, really putting the rubber to the road and making it
Right.
super, super practical, I think would be a lot of fun. So
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
thank you so much for joining us today. It was really fun to have you, and people can check out the Weston A Price Foundation Valley group.
Yeah, it's Matsu Valley Weston A Price Foundation chapter. There's a couple different ways. If you just search that in Facebook, we have a Facebook group. You can do that, and you're more than welcome to message me if you have any questions. You can also go on the Weston A Price Foundation website, westonaprice.org, and they have a tab at the top that has find a local chapter. You can do that, and you go to Alaska and you'll find information to contact me. I have an email and phone number on there, as well as our website. So there's a lot of different ways to reach out. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to contact me. I love talking about this stuff, so you will not be bothering me by any means.
Okay, perfect. It's been great having you, Kristen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.